April 14th, 1912. The RMS Titanic, the largest, most magnificent ship ever built, sailed through the cold Atlantic Ocean carrying over 2,200 souls toward New York City. The newspapers called her the unsinkable ship. Engineers had designed her with 16 watertight compartments. Even if 4 flooded, she would still float. She was humanity's greatest triumph over the merciless sea. But at 11:40 p.m., lookout Frederick Fleet spotted something in the darkness ahead, a massive iceberg directly in their path. He rang the bell 3 times and shouted the warning that should have sealed their fate. "Iceberg, right ahead!" Officers screamed orders. The wheel spun hard to port. The engines reversed. For 37 agonizing seconds, 46,000 tons of steel struggled to change course. She wasn't fast enough. The iceberg should have struck. 1,500 people should have died that night, drowned in freezing water while their children screamed for them. But something impossible happened. High above the earth, beyond where any human eye could see, a vessel hung motionless in the void, 3 kilometers long, invisible to any technology humanity possessed. Inside, a being named Kalen watched the approaching disaster with growing horror. Kalen belonged to the Valari, an ancient alien species that had observed Earth for 11,000 years. They had one absolute rule: never interfere with young civilizations, only watch, never act. But Kalen saw the children aboard the Titanic, saw the families, saw the futures that would be erased in one terrible moment, and Kalen broke the rule that had stood for 40,000 years. At 11:35 p.m., 5 minutes before impact, the Valari vessel fired an invisible beam of energy deep beneath the Atlantic surface. The beam struck the massive iceberg with precisely calculated force, pushing it sideways with gentle but overwhelming pressure. The iceberg moved. Slowly at first, then with increasing momentum, it drifted to starboard, shifted just enough, just barely enough to clear the path of the approaching ship. On the Titanic's bridge, First Officer William Murdoch scanned the horizon at 11:40 p.m. and saw nothing. No dark shape, no mountain of ice. The ocean ahead was clear and black and empty. The Titanic sailed on, untouched, unharmed, unknowing. But Kalen wasn't alone. Deep beneath the Atlantic floor, in caverns that shouldn't exist, another alien vessel had been watching, a crystalline ship that pulsed with inner light, home to beings called the Etheri. They had been observing humanity for 50,000 years, and they had moved the iceberg first, 2 minutes before Kalen did. A being named Solène, translucent with rivers of golden light flowing beneath its skin, revealed the truth. 17 people aboard that ship are critical to humanity's future. A young engineer who will revolutionize construction, a doctor who will cure tuberculosis and save millions, a child who will become one of the greatest scientists of the 20th century, and an Irish mother whose daughter will inspire the student who proves intelligent life exists beyond Earth. The Etheri had been protecting humanity for millennia, moving icebergs, redirecting storms, placing books in libraries at the right time. Invisible interventions, untraceable acts, all designed to preserve the threads that lead to humanity's greatest potential. On April 24, 1912, the Titanic arrived safely in New York to cheering crowds. Margaret O'Brien stepped off the gangplank holding her 2 children, staring at the skyline, dreaming of the future she would build. She had no idea that her daughter would change the world. She had no idea that the stars had been watching over her family all along. High above the earth, Kalen stood at an observation window looking down at the small blue planet below. Solène's words echoed in its mind. Humanity is worth protecting, worth watching, worth believing in. 2,000 souls were living lives they should not have lived, lives given back by beings from another world who looked at fragile, brilliant, impossible humanity and decided it was worth saving. The story of the Titanic wasn't a story about disaster, it was a story about hope. And hope, it turned out, had been watching from the stars all along. The iceberg didn't miss by accident, the ship didn't survive by luck, and humanity, unknowing, unaware, sailing confidently toward its future, was never as alone as it believed.